Hello and welcome to Just Keep Writing,
a podcast for writers
by writers
to keep you writing.
I'm Marshall.
I'm Nick.
I'm Brent.
And I'm Will.
And if these four voices sound old school to you, that is because the old school OG4 of Just Keep Writing is back in the house, chilling, having a good time. I went with OG4. What did you guys come up with? We had this talk already.
So I originally said Fantastic Four.
Which I like.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think we also discussed a couple other options.
Then I talked about OG X-Men, but then I was like, we could be the all-new, all-different X-Men version. You know?
Okay. I support all of this. And I think the fact that we're all back together means we're going to get back to our roots a little bit and talk about something near and dear to our hearts. And I'm going to let Brent take it away, but I think we're going to be talking about horror, right?
Yes, we are talking about horror because it's the month of October, the best month in the world, because why is also my birthday in October. So
yeah. Happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday.
Happy belated
Happy birthday.
Yeah, big 4-0. So, okay.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, I'm in the 40s club now. All right,
Wild. So
we are going to be talking about horror today because it's also October, which is spooky month. And I think all of us like horror. So I did leave space for if one of us didn't, but I felt like we all did. So, Okay, so like right out the gate, I'm just going to get right to it. Okay, so we've established we all enjoy horror. So what do you enjoy about it? So with this question, we're just going to think about it more as like a genre and not like any specific works yet. So who wants to go first?
Can I ask another question first?
Yeah, thanks.
Can you define for this conversation what is horror?
Okay. What I would say is any story that has the purpose of invoking fear.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that answer because it just opened up my options.
Cool. I actually like that, like, because I feel like horror is such a broad genre and can cover so many things. So, okay, shoot.
Do you want to go first, Nick?
Yeah. So, no. Okay. Re-ask the original question, so it's fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
Sorry,
okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Okay. So,
you mean you asking another question? Derailed it.
All right. So, what do you enjoy about horror? And this is like more as a genre, so not like specific works.
Yeah. So, man, it goes to the long-winded answer. It goes to the question, what are you like? Why are you afraid of the dark? It's not the dark that you're afraid of. You're afraid of what's in the dark. And it's the exploration of what's in the dark that scares you because it's a non-tangible thing all the time. And it's usually your imagination in most cases. So it's an exploration of your imagination a lot of the times, presented in a way that does cause you fear and an emotion.
That was a very good answer. Wow. Speaking to like the primal stuff. All right. Who wants to go next?
Do I have to follow that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so I have a weird relationship with horror. Like, and I know we'll get into this later. I avoided scary stuff for a long time. And this has to do with old school kids, stuff from the childhood, which we'll talk about. But recently, though, I have really kind of gotten back into it. And meaning I'm not only watching things that are in the horror genre, but also reading them, right? And I like what Nick said. There is a uncomfortableness that a well-crafted horror story invokes. I know it's going to be okay now that I'm older. Like, I know it's going to be okay, but there's something about going down that route of like somebody trying to come up with, how can you tap into those things that Nick was saying? Like, how can you invoke fear in specific ways to get a certain reaction? And I think that honestly, it's really difficult to do as someone who's trying to dabble in the writing of it as well. And so what I enjoy about it is its high level of difficulty and how broad the genre is, but also like you can have that conversation when you're done and just be like, oh man, that part scared the crap out of me, but man, wasn't that cool? You know what I mean? I don't know. And I just came back from Disneyland too. And it's like, the fear of like, it's that similar feel of like, in my opinion, like roller coasters and things like that, like where you have to kind of, you go back into this moment of, oh shit, that is scary, but I'm going to be okay, hopefully. Right. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I think like I'm glad you acknowledged the difficulty of the genre, because I think sometimes, I mean, it happens to all genre, but I think horror in particular is one that people dismiss as like a truly difficult thing to master. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
But to actually make it scary, like to
Yeah,
actually get those emotions out, like I think, it's something we all try to avoid, fear, right? We try to avoid being scared. So when we go into it, we want to actually be scared. You know what I mean? And that's hard to do. Yeah. Well, what you got?
So the funny thing is, what really, really got me reading was horror. And I didn't realize for a long time that you could actually read a book and your heart not be pounding. So horror for me allowed me to face my fears in a place that was safe.
I like that.
And I think that can be really powerful. So I'm going to talk to you, and this might not be considered horror now, but even though I do think there is a lot of like touchstones of horror, is Interview with the Vampire. The idea that your body is changing, that you have these primal desires. And I think as a young gay kid, that whole book is so homoerotic. And I think it was a really interesting way about how can you live off of people, like you're drinking the blood of people. And Louis really goes through this intense, like, I want to be a good person, but I'm feeding off of people, because he still felt bad about it. And I think parallel it to being like a raving homosexual when you're a kid. Do you know what I mean? Like, you are told that you're evil, but are you? If that's the way you are? Yeah. And then again, for me, it was Stephen King. So my sisters are older than me, and Stephen King, I read it when I was in 4th grade. I read the Tommyknockers when I was in 3rd grade. But it took me a year to finish it. And if everyone knows how quickly I read, I still read quickly as a kid. But it took me so long to finish that book because I used to throw it on the floor because I'd be too afraid and I'd have nightmares and run to my sister's room. So for me, I think horror is so good, especially for kids, right? Like, that's when I started reading Fear Street, Goosebumps, all of these other things that were then geared towards like my age, not Stephen King at the time when I was in 4th grade, that allowed you to confront the fears of the world, but in a safe place and where you could think about it. Like Christopher Pike was really big, when I was a kid. And I think, and R.L. Stine with Fear Street, the teenagers were having sex. They were, they talked about drugs. And then it was then also you have this vampire or this evil demon who's haunting you. Like, I felt like it was a way that you could grapple with what it was like to grow up and then also grow up and be a teenager.
Yeah. So I love that response too. So I guess for me, horror I love for a couple of reasons. And I think you kind of touched on it, Will, is that it lets people who are outsiders have the chance to kind of like confront this idea of like, do I really deserve to be an outsider, for one? Because there's a lot of those like horror monsters who, when you actually look at their backstories, they're completely justified in the shit that they are angry about, or the shit that they do, and how much of that reflects like, people who are told that they are, outside of society. Like, so much of our I want to get on this later, but I have thoughts about like how often old women are portrayed as so monstrous.
Yeah.
But also too, on the flip side of that, I think the thing I like about fear, and this is kind of something off, not fear, off horror, kind of something off what Marshall said, is that horror sometimes allows you to deal with the fact that it's not going to be okay. Like, there's a lot of characters in horror that just don't make it out.
Yeah.
And life has to keep going on. And I think that's one of the more brutally honest lessons, I think, of the genre, is that sometimes things just don't work out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But Nick, you got something?
Yeah. So, well, you actually made an interesting comment about the exploration of, growing up queer and discovering that, and like how Louis kind of went through the same thing with the exceptions of like needing blood and stuff like that. I think like just from this, like horror is just another genre where you can transpose like life situations and things like that. And I'm not a big horror reader, so like this is just like an interesting thing that you pointed out, is like subcoding something as something else through a lens of horror. And that right there just kind of like, it's kind of like blowing my mind a little bit of like, I didn't realize you could do that with horror and really effectively communicate some of the atrocities that marginalized communities have to go through. And I'm thinking, Marshall, there's a book that we read during our MFA that subverts H.P. Lovecraft, and I cannot remember the book, but it's like that.
Is
And
that the cosmic horror one?
Yeah, and I can't remember who it is.
I'll have the title in a sec.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, like I'm just realizing maybe I would like horror a lot more through that lens of telling the story of someone through a horror lens that I don't live their life experience from. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. I also think, all right, so I also grew up reading like Stephen King, obviously, and Dean Koontz, who sometimes I don't think gets enough credit because some of his stuff was deeply disturbing. And a little bit of Richard Lehman, right? But the people that I felt like made the biggest impact was, I would say, like Anne Rice, because some of her stuff was really creepy. Poppy Z. Bright, who wrote Drawing Blood and The Lost Souls. And also I read Tannereve Dew in the 90s, and like this was at a time when I don't think we really got a chance to see enough, Black women. We don't get to see enough Black women, being published, right? And Tannereve, The Good House, that was the first book I read from her. And that book, I could reread almost all her works, but that book is so haunting to me, and I think what I started to realize is I think there's a lot of good things about Stephen King, just as there's not some good things that he wrote, but I would say it's always been people who come from a marginalized background of some sort have written the best horror, or maybe it's the horror that I connect with the most, because sometimes when you're so afraid about your daily, and I think about like a lot what was going on when I was a kid reading it. I was afraid I was going to be beat up. I was afraid I was going to be teased on the bus. I was afraid I was going to be teased at school. I mean, I was a walking fearmonger, like it. And I think what horror allowed me to do was also survive.
Should I say the title of that book?
No, say it.
Oh yeah. So the book Nick was talking about was The Ballad of Black Tom
by Victor Laval. That book is amazing.
Yes. And Victor is such an incredible writer, but that's what it's tying. Your comment tied me back to that. And I don't know why it's just now hitting me like, oh shit, there's a whole nother genre that I'm missing based on stories I want to read because of this.
So speaking of that author, because I was like, that all sounds very familiar. I literally just read, it was called Lone Woman by Victor Laval.
I haven't had the chance to read that yet.
And I think Samim or somebody suggested and said it was really good. I read it over the summer while I had the audiobook while we were at the cabin, and I could not stop listening to that. I was terrified, intrigued, and also like, he's doing so much to convey, like, sure, there's a horror element to it, but really what it comes down to is this woman in like 18 something a black woman has decided to travel across the country and make a stake in freaking Montana. And what that looks like to uproot yourself to escape something, right? And plant yourself in the middle of the country with no supports whatsoever, and with this really interesting secret. The book is freaking brilliant. And so you definitely have to read Lone Woman by Victor Laval. Anyway, I've read a lot more horror than I thought now that we're having this conversation. I have a whole shelf of Stephen King books behind me that I had when I was a kid. So apparently...
Sorry to hijack this first question on such a long answer.
No. I love it. Like, honestly, this is what I was hoping for. So I'm glad this spurred it on. Okay, so it kind of actually naturally leads into the second question anyway, which I was going to ask, like, what stories scared you as a child and what stories scare you now as an adult? It can be the same thing here, but I wanted to open this one up to like the full range of it. So it could be movies, it could be books, it could be stories your family told you, it could be like local urban legends, whatever. Like, I wanted to open it up completely because I think, like, for me at least, I feel like oral horror is a thing that is like deeply, that it exists in all communities, I think, to some degree, where you get these stories of awful things happening. So I'd be interested to hear.
I don't know. While you were talking, I just started laughing because I remember a game we used to play when we were kids with my cousins and my siblings. I'm sure you guys have played Bloody Mary, right? Where you look in the mirror and you say Bloody Mary and you try to, and we would just scare the shit out of our little cousins, which was hilarious. But I was saying earlier how I had a kind of a complicated relationship with horror because visually, I think is what I have a hard time with. Like, so I didn't really know. I was very young, and a buddy of mine had me watch Friday the 13th with no frame of reference. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. Scared the shit out of me, right? So I just was like, I don't like this genre. Like, but I've realized now that we have this conversation, I joined the Stephen King book club when I was a kid. I got a bunch of hard copy Stephen King books behind me. Like, I've read Living Blood, Tenerife Dews, The Good House, and all this stuff. Like, I realized that I really enjoy the genre and loved Sinners, loved this book I was just talking about, and realized that I think, and I'm going to say one more thing because we're opening it up. I've really enjoyed the take on, and you guys might differ on this, but the most recent adaptation of Poe's the
House of Usher. Follow the House of Usher.
Fall of House of Usher.
Yes, such a good show.
I thought that was freaking brilliant. And
So
I realized
fantastic.
I've also taught the book. I've taught Edgar Allan Poe and done this stuff. And I just think that I've really enjoyed the genre way more and embraced it more and not really thought about it as something that I was consciously really doing. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does. I think that kind of goes back to the point I was making earlier about like how sometimes I think people sometimes forget just how broad the genre is and just like all the things that really fall under its umbrella, and just like the amount of storytelling power it actually has is pretty amazing.
Yeah. And I like the adaptation thing. I think is really interesting right now. Like, you take something like an Edgar Allan Poe story and do a modern take on it in current times. And if you can pull that off, and again, it does all the things we've been talking about. Like, there's some gory moments, but like, it's not really about the gore. It's about the feeling, right? It's that suspense. And it's like,
yes,
I know something's fucked up here and I don't know what it is yet, but I'm here for it. And I kind of can't wait to see how it unfolds. But I'm also holding my wife's hand. Like, I need to be supported. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Will. Sorry.
You know who else really is? Maurice writes really good horror. And I think we forget
Maurice
that.
Who?
Broaddus. Maurice Broaddus.
Friend of the show, Maurice Broaddus. Yes.
Friend of the show. But my first, like, I think introduction to horror was through family, like La Llorona, and then the El Coco, who would steal children and take them away from their family. So it was, I guess, it's like, God, my parents were so morbid. And I was like, no, you wonder why I'm into all this. That they would use these things as a way to like get us to sleep or like go to your room. Or El Coco was going to get you, or like the story of La Lorna, who was the weeping woman who was searching for the bones of her children so that they could go to heaven. And when I think of that story of like the wailing woman coming from the water, I think that's also a really great lesson of like, it really talks about like grief. It's really a way that this woman has never been able to rest because her children are dead, and it was always used in a point of like war or like genocide or like, of course, of being like part of like Taino culture, that there was a genocide, towards the people. And I think horror allows you to sometimes remember the atrocities by giving a figure of fear. And that's how it can be rooted in folklore and morality.
I really like that answer. Nick, what you got?
Yeah, so one, like Will's background, like hearing the Latin culture and stuff like that, and some of the old wives' tales, if you will, of like getting kids to do things out of fear. I grew up with the German ones. And so like that shit's just as scary and unreasonable. Once you hit a certain age, you realize like, nah, it's a bunch of bullshit. But I think for me, like, to answer the question and things like that, nice chat, Marshall. To answer the question, like growing up as a kid and even as an adult, what scares me when I read it or watch it or see it? I'm big into urban legends, local legends and things like that, because I think if enough people talk about something, it's true. There's a difference between a man standing on a street spouting something or a person on the street spouting something. And then there's the difference when you have generations of people talking about the same experiences and same things, like the Jersey Devil, Sasquatch. Like local legends do scare me because I do think there's enough people having these experiences. There has to be some sort of truth with it. And at a further layer, the Native American folklore too. I grew up in an area up in Washington. It is Native American land, and we grew up with those stories. We grew up with those experiences, and I just think like urban legends definitely scare me because I'm a big believer in that. Going back to like things that scared the hell out of me as a kid, Goosebumps, Werewolf of Fever Swamp. Now, why did it scare me? I have always had reoccurring nightmares to my adult days of being chased by a werewolf.
Really?
My whole entire life. So like that book scared me. Like, don't know why. To this day, like love werewolves, love lycanthropy and therianthropy, right? Those are very cool concepts to me, but deep down, like there is a fear based on that. And it's an unreasonable fear, but it is like that. And I think as an adult, though, I think what scares me the most is things that have happened in my life where I got away from, that I do see in visual media and reading. So like I'm a big believer in the supernatural. I've had my own experiences and stuff like that. I have family members with the experiences. We talked about La Llorona. My dad has had experiences of waking up to a crying lady sitting in a chair next to him, and he's too afraid to turn around. And it's a reoccurring theme, and it's always surrounded by death in his family. And so it's like there's some intangible things that have happened in my life that if I go and read it or watch it, yeah, that puts some fear in me and gives me some goosebumps because it's like it's also a lived experience. And I think that's maybe we haven't hit on yet in the horror theme is the lived experience and like what you've been through. Actually, well, you probably touched on this a little bit too in the last question, but I think for me, it's like it's the lived experience that I have that reignites some of the fears I used to have as a kid, and as an adult. Like, do you guys remember the book Thunder Cave?
Mm-mm.
I think that's the name of it. So I'll pull it up. But basically, a kid goes to Africa to visit his dad, who's on he's on some type of mission out there, and he gets lost in the desert in a cave.
Boy.
And it's like being alone, not knowing what to do, basic survival skills. Yeah, it's called Thunder Cave.
Are you sure this wasn't something you read in church?
100% Thunder Cave by Roland Smith back in 95. The book scared me. There's nothing scary about it.
Yeah.
It's not a horror book, but I had this undeniable fear around being alone and left in situations where I didn't know what to do, which is carried through my adult life and through my other experiences.
I think something that you just said, Nick, had me thinking about what I was going to add when you were done talking, and it's helpful. But like bringing up those old feelings. So like I was saying earlier, how I'm not a fan of the slasher films, right? Because of that early experience I had. I also had, the lived experience of being bullied and chased and all that kind of stuff, right? So there was really something about movies like that. And I'm focusing on movies because, again, that visual aspect of it always kind of scare the crap out of me, and it still does. So there's genres of movies that I know are really cool and good that I literally, if I've told you some of the movies I haven't seen, you'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I have not seen Alien. I've not seen Predator. Like, I don't.
Okay, you should watch Predator.
I know.
I just think they're entertaining.
Yeah, I know. And again, I think I would like it, but I think knowing what those movies are about at their core, like people getting chased and like that jump scare slasher part of it, is what kind of keeps me away from those specific franchises. You know what I mean? I know those elements exist in other things. Like I get that, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think as an adult, I think that still kind of sits with me a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well, Predator, Alien, like I have this concept. If I can kill it, I'm not scared.
Okay. That's fair.
Except for the one exception are the movies Hostel.
See, and I can't watch stuff like that either.
People go and get kidnapped and tortured by a secret group. And it's like, no, that shit's real. Yeah. That does happen. That does scare me. Even though I can kill someone, it invokes the feeling of helplessness. And that's a PTSD trigger for me since I was a kid, right?
It's like Saw and all those other things too. Like,
yeah, I don't do them. They're also not very well written, in my opinion. Like, if you rely on the gore and the slashing, not so great. Chainsaw Massacre, like the movie, based on a real story.
Yeah,
it could have done a little bit better acting wise, but yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. If I know I can kill it and I know it's supernatural and you can kill it, it's fine. Aliens are fine. Monsters normally fine. You put a freaking demon crawling out of a doll? No, hell no. I'm running away from the room. I'm out. Like, I can't do it. I couldn't watch the damn movie Annabelle.
Oh yeah, I'm not watching any of that.
Like, lived experiences for me where it's like, I'm not in control. I can't do anything about this other than run. I'm out.
That's fair.
So I think I don't think I answered it actually. So
no, you didn't.
I'll answer it, then I'll go to the third one. All right. So for myself, I guess what it is that I don't like stories that like happen in the unconscious world. Those scare the crap out of me. Like anything with like Insidious or like, and I'll watch them, but they ruin me because it's like, or like Freddy Krueger. I was terrified of Freddy Krueger because it's like, I have to sleep. I cannot not sleep.
Right.
So so those are the ones that I think they scared me as a kid and they scare me now. Like, I don't like stuff where like stuff is attacking me in my dreams. Like, because I just, you don't have any defense really. Like, there's no way to avoid it.
Okay. Put your hand up if you've never had a dream ever in your life where you're being attacked by someone and you can't do anything, Where you
I
throw
had
a
one
pu-
this weekend.
you throw a
How
punch
was
and you
that?
hit someone and you break your own hand and they just laugh at you. You're like, oh, what the fuck?
I had one this weekend. Okay, so I also I have sleep paralysis a lot sometimes, and I hate stories that deal around that. So like I had it this weekend, and I know why it happens, but it's terrifying every single time. It doesn't matter if I know it, and it's
God damn.
yeah. So those are the stories I hate. I mean, I hate them, but I love them. I'll watch them, but like they terrify me.
Okay, I want to just say Insidious, I love that movie, but it also deeply freaks me out, and Nightmare on Elm Street as well. The one also that frightens me, even to this day, is The Exorcist.
Oh yeah. I've only watched it one time, I think, all the way through, but
Have you heard about all the stuff that like happened on the set of the movie when they were actually filming it?
Tell us what happened.
Wasn't
No,
there?
please don't. Please don't.
No,
It's a spooky episode. We gotta lean in.
Dude, I already. This is like the paranormal activities too, right? If you guys remember that one,
So you know what? The first one did freak me out. I'm not even gonna lie. Like the first one bothered me. Like even though I knew it wasn't like a thing. I think
it
also
sure
freaked me out.
didn't feel fake.
Yeah, and then the fact that it was in San Diego, I was like, "Fuck that!" Like, what? Yeah.
Are you guys of the age where when? Oh, I'm a little older than you. So do you guys remember when Blair Witch came out? And we were,
Yes.
and all the promos around it were like, "This is real. This really happened." So
Yeah.
I don't know if you got to the theater when you thought it was real, but it was scary as hell. I'm sorry, but that was a marketing thing more than anything.
Well, tell us what happened on the set of Exorcist, Brent.
All right. So on the set of The Exorcist, wasn't there something where like the actual dude who was playing the priest like felt like he like had like something attack him and the
There was a bunch of little stuff like that.
Yeah, wasn't there a part where like the cross actually was upside down, like on its own out the blue or something? I can't remember every little thing. I just remember reading a few things and being like, "Oh hell nah, like, I'm okay."
If the filming is haunted, then yeah. Sorry.
It's also the same thing about Poltergeist.
Oh yeah, and, house.
The house, and also about all the strange things that happened on set. And then the one who played the little girl wound up dying in a freak accident.
Yeah, nah. Like, so
see this is such a good episode. I'm not going to bed.
And this is like the stuff that like I think the reason I don't like the lack of control things is because like so much of like growing up, I heard stories about like, oh, don't leave your hair at this person's house, or like don't eat this from this person because they'll take control of you. And I think just growing up hearing these kinds of stories about people taking control of you, anytime I see like another one that freaked me out. Fucking skeleton key. I mean, whew.
Just gonna type that in there.
Those of you not benefiting from the video feed, Will just lost it. He's in.
That one terrified. I still don't like that one, honestly.
Well, and this is what I was saying earlier too. Is the fact like all of these things we remember so vividly because of the way they were told or the stories around them. And this is why I said how freaking difficult this genre is to pull off, because if you're trying to do that and it falls flat, it just becomes funny at that point, right? Like you watch the things that are like supposed to be scary or whatever, and it's like, oh, this is bullshit, right? But if you're actually scared, that's good writing, acting, combination of all the things. I don't know. All these examples and the fact that we're still sitting on this stuff means something. You know?
I actually have a really recent one that I don't know if I will ever watch again. I kind of want to, but I like, part of me is like, should I? Talk to Me. That movie left me.
I haven't seen it.
So shook.
I wanted to see that. Is that where they're in that like room, all of them, and
they talk? They grab the hand and it lets you talk to dead people.
Oh yeah.
When I tell you, so I was seeing a guy at the time when I went to watch it, and I think I was like hitting him the whole time. I was like, "What the? Oh my god, I can't!" And at some point he was like, "Yo, calm down." I was like, so it was, yeah. By the end of it, there's like 3 scenes in particular in that movie where I felt so uncomfortable that I just was in my seat, like sinking down and like I wanted to melt into the floor. So I don't know if I can watch it again, but that is one that terrified me as a grown ass late 30 something.
Nick, what were you gonna say?
So again, if this is a tangent question, cut it. Brent, I'm curious about your military upbringing though, and how much that's played into the horror stuff, because we've talked about cultural aspects too and things like that. But I also know my military background and your military background and what the places your family has served. What other like things in your upbringing did you hear about? Like you just talked about, don't leave your hair at someone else's house, right? And it's like, okay, what's the military side for you growing up as like a military kid that you've heard that's playing into this for you?
So we had this one on this one military base we actually stayed on. There was this public swimming pool, and apparently it was shut down. No one would go to it because apparently some kid died in the pool, but the kid was like haunting the pool. Ooh, I'm getting chills talking about it because we did some dumb shit. So so we all went to the pool to like mess around and just see if we could see the ghost or whatever. And we go to this window, and the oddest fucking thing, there was a whole plate of food set out on this table with water and everything. Like someone had eaten a meal there, but that thing had been shut down for forever. So it stopped being about the haunting and it started being about like, what weirdo is living in here eating meals? Like, and then we also, being with the military kids, you also had to deal with stuff that was like, okay, this. So unfortunately, I mean, you know the domestic violence rate in the military. So there would be houses where like, where I was when I was a kid, like I'm next door neighbor. The dude killed his wife and buried her in the backyard. Ooh. So that became like a local kind of like urban legend thing, right? And then you had like, so you had these things that would come up as and the military kids would know it, and we would talk about it. And so yeah, it was just like it was stuff like that would be so. It was awful, but it was like also like crazy, and you would have I remember there was this one story too about like this old bunker apparently that like a bunch of like a soldier had, like lost his mind and like killed a whole bunch of people in. Don't know how true that story actually is, but you would have those things like those remnants of like war would come home and become like their own kind of like legends and myths and stuff too. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it totally does. So I served in Louisiana at Fort Polk. And so every military installation has their own like a couple 100,000 acres of training grounds. And Louisiana is like kind of a hotbed for supernatural stuff. But we were in a training area and like it was well known, like in safety briefings, hey, a lot of people see like old Vietnam soldiers wandering around these training grounds. Like, report it up, but if you're the only person seeing it, don't be alarmed. And you're like, what do you mean don't be alarmed?
Don't tell me something. Like I'd be so mad.
Like, and that's like been every military. I'm asking because it's like the urban legend, but you're actively living the urban legend, right? Like, hey, your neighbor killed someone and buried in the backyard. That's an active urban legend that's going to like be passed on for the next like 10 generations that was just created for you.
Yeah. Well, and like, I got this thought. So I'm going to tell y'all this. It completely flipped my brain about like stuff like ghosts and things of that nature and seeing things. So I was at this panel at Comic-Con and it was right before my Comic-Con panel. So I was just sitting and listening. And one of the guys said, he was like, I have this theory that every single day, 10 to 15% of the things you see are actually supernatural beings. And so I was like, well, wait, that's interesting. What do you mean? Like he was like, okay, think about it. You're walking down the street. He was like, how do you know that person that you walk by is a ghost or not? Are you actually touching them to see if they're a corporeal being? How do you know that car that just passed you by is actually a real car and not something from a past? Did you touch the car? So he was saying that like he has his theory that like you see way more ghosts and you see way more supernatural things than you ever realize that you actually do. And now ever since then, I'm thinking like I'm walking down the street. I'm like, are you ghosts? Are you fucking real? Like, I don't know.
Well, and like I said, I was just in Disneyland and I swear when someone's walking right at you, like someone like I'm walking down the street and I'm with my family and they're walking right at me. They don't see me. And I turn my family sometimes and I was like, am I a ghost? Like, am I actually here? Like, they didn't move for a second. If I didn't move, I would be bumping heads with this person, right? Maybe they're the ghost, right? Okay, now I'm thinking about this. I like this. Okay.
I told you it twisted my brain when he said that. I was like, wait, what? We've been talking a lot about like horror and whatnot, things that move us, but who do you feel is creating some of the best horror currently? Preferably, we could talk about writers, but I'm fine if we talk about like whoever is making horror right now. So, Nick, you want to go first?
Yeah. So obviously, I'm going to go Victor LaValle, and probably one of the most recent novels I've read and stuff like that. I just love the subverting H.P. Lovecraft is just something I'm just like, I'm going to get behind this. Like, this is something that's fun. It's cool. It's tangible. It's telling a different story from a marginalized writer and stuff like that. And it's subverting a lot of the racism that was just accepted by H.P. Lovecraft. And like, H.P. is still very much touted as like this genius, but it's all rooted in racism and stuff like that. So I love seeing anyone that's going to subvert that. I'm going to say go and read. But also, like, I met Linda Addison back at MoCon in 2019, and I've always been impressed with Linda in some of her writing and stuff like that. I know she's won a few awards and stuff like that pretty consistently in the horror genre. So I'm going to tab Linda Addison as someone you guys got to pick up and read.
Yeah, no, I definitely, those examples, especially by H.P. Lovecraft. You know, it's so funny that like often horror is a reflection of your fears, and his fears were just a reflection of his racism. Like,
oh no, black people!
Like, like, oh, an Asian? They moved next door? Cosmic horror.
Like, seriously though, come on. Like, it's so bad. But it's so open, and it's like, guys, like, we have better writers than that. We like,
even for his own time, he was extra. Like, even in his own contemporaries were like, okay, bro, you're a little too racist.
100%. And I think that's a lot of things that people don't understand. And so that, like, let's go and highlight them. Like, if you know someone who's subverted H.P. Lovecraft, freaking tag us in it. Like, let us know too. Like, because I'll read it. I don't give a shit.
Will was gonna say something. I'm looking up something.
Go ahead.
You're looking up. I mean, Tenerife do the Reformatory. T. Kingfisher. Her books are on fire. Victor LaValle. Nat Cassidy, who's also a really great horror writer. Chuck Tingle. I think Camp Domestic and Burr Your Gaze was really good. I mean, there's still so much more. Oh, Grady Hendrix, who wrote My Best Friend's Exorcism, which is so good. And I'm like, I don't like exorcisms. Like, that makes me afraid, like The Exorcist. But that book was so good because it also dealt with friendship. You know, like it was, there's always, I think what's so great about, especially the horror coming up now, it's so, I mean, Tenerife Dues, the Reformatory is mind-blowing and haunting and scary. And I had to only read it during the day. That's how scared I was. And I'm starting to read Cosco Jackson's The Macabre. And it is frightening.
No, so since Nick took my, and you know, Will said it too, Victor LaValle, but because I'm more visual lately with these things, I really have liked Mike Flanagan's stuff, Midnight Mass and Fall of House of Usher and that kind of thing. Like that, those shows have just been like binge worthy, scary shit that I love the I mean, the writing is top notch, but you have to find the right actors to pull this stuff off as well. You know what I mean? Like you have to find the right cast in order to do it. And I think those films or those shows have done exactly that. And I love it. I've been trying to read a little more horror. I've got one or two on my list you guys recommended recently. So if we come back next October, I'll have some other ones that I've read, but I've read a lot in the past, but I really, besides the stuff I mentioned already, Lone Woman is a must read if you're listening to this episode. Cause that shit is badass. So,
I think I would say Alexis Hall, The Year of the Witching, like was just fucking fantastic. It was really, I didn't think you could do a secondary world based on colonial America that's also a horror story. It just worked that well. It just was, yeah. Also, her prose is just brilliant. Like just, yeah. Another one I would mention is Haley Piper. She's killing it right now. Like she's just had like release after release after release. I read No Gods for Drowning a few years ago. It was like fantasy horror. It was like epic fantasy horror, which was very, very cool and interesting how like she mashed that together. Someone else, Susan Palumbo, like a lot of her short fiction is just really haunting. There's a short story I wanted to bring up. I read that was like horror and it really messed me up and I cannot remember it right now. Oh, I know who else I want to mention. Cassandra Caw. Like, yeah, like The Salt Grows Heavy. Ugh, it's just, yeah. Well, I want to bring this up too because it's something maybe we'll have time to talk about. But I think they mentioned like if you want to write good horror, read food writing, which we can circle back to that. But that's something I'll talk about too. Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah. All right, Nick, you got.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw another one out there for the YA genre and stuff like that. That there is some scary shit in it, and I made my kid read it one time, and I don't know if I regret it yet. But Thieves of Weirwood by Christian Heidecker. Like, he has an opening scene of a porcelain doll running down a brick alley. Like, scared the fuck out of me, dude. And I'd listen to Audible, and I was like, nope. And it made me put it down for a little while. And, like, it scared the shiz out of me. Really good duology, though. Like, highly recommend it. But they're, like, for YA, like, this is great intro to horror and stuff like that.
Yeah, you lost me at porcelain doll. I'm not fighting no dolls.
I'm over the dolls, man.
No.
I did want to just add the OG of what truly got me into horror, and that is my favorite, Scooby-Doo.
Oh, love yeah. Scooby-Doo. I mean, yeah.
Scooby-Doo is great.
I mean, like...
But you knew some knucklehead was going to get unmasked at the end, so there was some comfort there.
Nope, it depends what version you're watching, because if you're talking about 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, and then we're talking about the best version ever, Scooby-Doo and Mystery Incorporated, that was 2 seasons long, 52 episodes, The Zombie Island, The Witch's Ghost.
I watched most of it, I hear you. Okay.
It is some serious...
You're right. I forgot Mystery's Inc. Yeah.
To even in the original's defense, I think the point it was making is that the real horror is fucking a greedy rich capitalist. Yep. So
exactly,
some greedy ass human.
Yeah, greedy ass human beings who are always
all old white men too.
True.
Yeah. So, but no, that is a good. Oh, I can't believe that. Yeah, OG.
Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about OGs, I mean, so I don't know if I count it as horror, but it had its elements. I mean, Buffy, I don't feel like we can leave without talking about Buffy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence with
that. I am too. I am because like there were certain episodes, though the quiet episode, that was terrifying. Hush.
Season 4, episode 10.
I remember watching as a teenager and I was scared to go to sleep. I was like, woo. So maybe there's elements because it's not overall.
Yeah. But if we go down that ride, then I'm going to throw in X-Files.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
The episode.
Sure.
Okay, so the episode with the Brent family, I was terrified for years behind that episode. That episode left me so shook. I won't watch it again. I refuse. I will not watch that episode ever again.
So to this day, that is the scariest X-Files episode to me. And then on top of that, like there's also like there's this thing about inbred families out in some place, and there's an arm hanging out my freaking door right now. And
Right
just
now,
scared
like,
crap. God, what's up, Janelle?
It's Janelle, yeah.
Like it's a thing where it's like the inbred family that this documentary covers. I was like, oh my God, this is X-Files in real life. Like that episode scared the crap out of me to this.
Yeah, that one literally shook me. I could not. I won't watch you guys.
No, I just want to add. There are some of my favorite episodes of not traditionally horror shows with horror elements are really impactful. And like I put in the chat Doctor Who. There's some Doctor Who episodes that scared the crap out of me.
Oh yeah,
like with the Weeping Angels and there's a couple of other ones. There's one with the World War II child with the mask. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I think it was David Tennant. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So that most recent run had some straight up horror episodes, and I think why I'm bringing it up is I think some of these genres that we love that dip into horror really do enhance our love of the shows in some way, right? It doesn't turn me off that I'm scared in an episode of Doctor Who, but like, holy crap, like it's hard for me to watch. When I know it's a Weeping Angels episode, I was like, all right, I gotta get ready for this. You know what I mean? And when they show up and you don't know they're gonna be there, that's scary too. So anyway, what are we talking about?
Just a sidebar. My daughter literally just came into my office.
Yeah.
I was like, Daddy, we need to make sure you're okay, because like it sounded like you were jumping up and down and fell on the ground. Because Brent mentioned the damn X-Files episode of the inbred family, and I was jumping in my chair, waving my arms. Like
that is a
terrifying. It freaked my family out. Look,
speaking of horror,
I don't care how old it is.
I don't want to ever see it ever again.
Yeah, some of those X-Files. Yeah.
I don't know why they let me watch that shit by myself. I was horrified. Ugh.
Oh, it's harmless. Bullshit. I got nightmares.
Yeah. Okay, so I do have, I guess, one final question for us. Because I feel like we answered the why is horror important. So I'm going to skip that one. I feel like we did. Yeah, we really drilled into that. All right, so last one. You get asked to write a horror story today. What would you write about? So you can give a broader answer. Like you could say like, oh, I would write a slasher horror. Or if you really know what you would write, you can drill down to be specific. So if you like have like a pitch, I just threw in the notes like Freddy Krueger meets Lord of the Rings or something. I don't know. But so yeah.
I do have an answer for this one. I have two answers. One, can I just say some of this darker romance is romance and horror combined? Some of the stuff my wife reads, I'm like, that's horror.
Yeah,
like I saw the romance element. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Women being tied up by someone who breaks in and then they fall in love with them. That's horror to me. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead and read it. That's fine.
I like having sex with knives. I'm like, this is horror.
Oh my God. Yes.
Like a knife? Like that's horror. Like that's not.
Look, let's just romantasy or romance. I'm sorry, dark romance is just romance and horror. Like, let's just get that clear that out. But that would be a genre I think would be kind of weird and fun to write it. But if someone asked me to write horror today, there is I think it's Swedish, Finnish, one of the two. But there's a story of an old like Viking warrior who goes to a cave to fight ghosts, but it's all in his head. There's also a video game concept called Setsuna, and she has schizophrenia. She's fighting, and she has to fight monsters and her disease at the same time. I'm very fascinated in medieval culture or old cultures surrounding mental health illnesses, mental health around those genres of seeing the supernatural, and you got a sword and shield and you got to go fight ghosts and go into their territory to do that. I think it's something we don't see enough of, and that's what I would do.
That's really cool. Actually, I would love to read that story. All right, Marsh, you got something?
Yeah, I think I've been dabbling a little bit in horror lately, or like supernaturally stuff. But like all of my current things aside, I think I have this project in my head that I think that I pitched during grad school. That was kind of historical. How do I want to say it? Like a historical fiction, basically. But I would like to do a horror version of it. After reading Lone Woman, I'm like, okay, what if a bunch of black folks were trying to move across the country, which is horrific anyway, at the times of covered wagons and crap, and they had to deal with an actual horror element as well. Like that's something I would be interested in, like layering on top of horrific travel conditions, experiences, but also layering in a supernatural, scary stuff on top of it. I don't know. That'd be fun for me. That's what I would do. Or a retelling of something, revisiting something that I already kind of like, which I have some ideas, but nothing's coming to my head. But anyway.
No, I mean that's still cool though. Yeah. Will, what about you? What's your brain cooking?
I think relaunching my webcomic Vessel.
Oh yeah,
because that really
please put
to
that
me is very like horror-ish.
And what I liked about Vessel though is that it wasn't just horror. There was also mystery. There was also like a lot, and there was also this and I mean this in a great way, but there was just this melodrama to it, which is like I think like almost like, and I think you mentioned this being intentional, but almost like Sunnydale in a way, and how some of this stuff was like there was this history and this drama between these people, and anyway,
yeah. So that for sure, that's what I want to write again.
Well, I absolutely 10,000% support that, because I feel like, especially where it left off, there was like all these little breadcrumbs of stuff that like I was like, wait, what's going on? Especially once you got to like the adults having their own history, and I was like, oh, okay, I was like, oh, this is when it's getting real.
Yep.
So, yeah.
If you haven't read the webtoon by Will Ralston called Vessel, there's a link in the show notes for it. And please encourage him, along with us, for him to write this story as well. Both in short fiction and a novella or novel or a series. I don't care. We want more of it.
We want more, man.
Yeah. A loving harassment campaign. In love.
I'm sorry.
Keep the love. Keep the love.
The things that you set up in Vessel, I 100% can see you doing as a project on long form. And I do see it being very successful.
Indeed.
You're telling multiple stories from multiple angles. And obviously you're tackling a religious angle, which based on my current project, I'm very much keen in on. And I think it is something that does need to be talked about.
Yep.
Brent, did you answer the question?
Who, me? No, I didn't answer. All right. Well, my answer, I guess, there was this project I had started and I kind of stopped, so maybe I'll come back to it again at some point. But basically, I was inspired by like Alexis Hall and like Haley Piper and how they were able to do these really cool horror stories in these secondary world settings. So I wanted to do something that was like Interview with the Vampire, but instead of vampires, it's necromancers, but with very specific rules in the way that like Interview with the Vampire has very specific rules for the vampires. And I wanted to do that. And then I wanted to marry it with like rave culture. So I kind of wanted it to be like this sort of like this steamy, but very not healthy love affair between someone who's a necromancer and someone who, you might like this, Nick, who's actually like a soldier who's home from war. And he's using all this partying to like try to get his trauma out of his system. And
you had me at necromancer.
See, okay. Well then I already,
Look, you saying it reminds me though, like Interview with the Vampire, but you said rave culture, and I instantly went to the opening scene to Mortal Instruments.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, no shit, I need this now. Necromancers partying and raving.
Yeah. And I did a little short
come
story.
on.
I did a little short story with Baffling, which was kind of like me playing with that idea where I had the whole thing with the gay club where the guy was actually the necromancer and he was keeping all the people thinking they were young, but they were all old and decrepit. That was me kind of commenting a little bit on some of the gay club culture. But anyway, yeah. So if I had to start a horror story today, that would be the one. I would circle back and work on that.
Well, sounds like we all have a project to write for next year.
That's why I wanted to ask it. I wanted to ask it so I could get all of y'all to like say something so I can badger you about it later.
Oh yeah. No. Like I said, I'm currently writing a couple of horror adjacent things, so maybe I'll lean into it a little bit more. Because
I feel like this is the perfect month. We can harness the energy.
I love it. We good?
Yeah, that's I feel like that will bring us home talking about our own projects. I wanted to end with that. So
perfect. Love it. And this has been Just Keep Writing, a podcast for writers by writers to keep you writing. You can find us at justkeepwriting.org. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Feel free to reach out to any of us on our social medias, and please jump in our Just Keep Writing Discord channel. Links to all of that is in the show notes. Lastly, please support our show by going to patreon.com/justkeepwriting. We offer daily writing prompts, early access to podcast episodes, and much more. Thanks for listening, and just keep writing.